on set. Places, everybody. And action.
It's time once again for the Hooked on Movies podcast. Today, we will be looking at the 1986 release by director Rob Reiner, Stand By Me. With me are Ken.
Hey, do you think Mighty Mouse could beat up Superman?
Of course he can. And Ted.
Okay, Eric. Mickey's a mouse. Donald's a duck. Pluto's a dog. What the hell's Goofy?
That's a good question to ponder the ages. Hey, Ken. Suck my fat one, you cheap dime store hood.
Who said you had a fat one?
That felt good. Yeah, I know. We are talking Stand By Me. And of course, we would always like to thank our brothers out there on the Dorkening Network for talking about us and mentioning us and all the other streaming services out there that you can hear.
They are not cheap
podcast
dime
on.
store hoods.
They are not. No. Dime store hoods. Here's a phrase you don't hear much anymore. Something out of the 50s. All right, Ken. Stars we lost in 2025.
All right.
Do I get to play the in memoriam music?
I was going to say, do we have any somber music that can go behind us here? No.
So there, I had to delete a half of this list because it was just way too long, and it's still way too long. If you guys want to talk about any of these actors, we'll feel free. But the first one right off the list that died in January of 2025 was Bob Uecker.
Yes.
Yeah,
put him on the
list.
list.
A bit outside.
Yep, just because of the major league films. He was more of a TV actor, of course, outside of baseball.
Mr. Belvedere.
Belvedere, the Miller Lite commercials. Yeah.
Those were the best.
Down in the front row.
Bill Burge, actor who appeared in Ernest movies. Yeah, well, none of us probably watched those.
Nope.
Yeah. Nope.
In February, we lost the great Gene Hackman.
Yes. Sad. Very sad.
Gene. Poor Gene.
And his wife.
In February, we also lost Kevin Major Howard. He was a Full Metal Jacket actor, so I included him because we reviewed that movie. Peter Jason was known for The Karate Kid and John Carpenter movies. Lynn Marie Stewart was an actor and former Pee Wee Herman sidekick. Patty Maloney, I include her because she was in the Star Wars Holiday Special, and I think that would make Ted happy.
Nice.
So.
Yes.
Nice.
It's a masterpiece.
Richard Chamberlain, former teen idol,
Richard
and
Chamberlain.
the Thornbirds.
Thornbirds,
Yeah,
yes.
Thornbirds.
Jack Lilly, Bruce Glover, who is the actor and father of Crispin Glover.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a claim to fame.
Clive Reville. He was the original voice of Emperor Palpatine.
Yes.
Yes.
In April, we lost the great Val Kilmer.
Yes.
Very sad. Yes.
We've done a number of his
Iceman.
movies, of course. He'll always be Doc Holliday to me. I know people refer to him as Iceman, but always Doc Holliday. So
I'm your Huckleberry.
Priscilla Pointer was an actor, and I don't believe so, but she was the mother of Amy Irving.
Nope, not a Pointer sister.
Nope.
Okay.
Ed Kotcheff. I don't know if I said that right, but he's the director of First Blood and Weekend at Bernie's.
Oh.
Those are two random
I know, right?
movies.
Deaths in 2025 include the great George Wendt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Talked about him in Fletch.
Norm.
Loretta Swift, best known for TV, though, in MASH. Joe Don Baker, best known for GoldenEye.
Yeah.
Also in Fletch.
Yeah. He's been in a lot of things.
He's one of those that guy actors.
Yeah.
Very good character actor.
Yes.
James Foley was the director of the 50 Shades of Grey sequels.
Yowie, Kazowie.
And though this is more of a TV icon, she was in some movies. Ruth Buzzy.
Ruth Buzzy, yes.
Love Ruth Buzzy. June's deaths include teen idol Bobby Sherman. Kenneth Coley was an actor in Star Wars movies. Character actor Jack Betts, best known for the work they did in Spider-Man. Gaylord Sartine was an actor in Hee Haw and the Ernest movies. So
Hee Haw and the
Hee
Ernest
Haw.
movies.
I liked Hee Haw.
You know you're a redneck if you're in Hee Haw and Ernest movies.
That's right.
Joanna Bacon, actor in Love Actually. Betsy Gay, child star in the Our Gang comedy films.
Oh, geez.
So,
what was
yeah.
she, like 905 years old?
No, she wasn't 100. She was 96 years old.
Wow.
Impressive.
Harris Yulin, best known for Ozark and Scarface. July 2025 deaths, and I had to put him in there. He's not in a lot of movies, but Ted would be like freaking out. Why didn't we not include this one? Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
Yes. Ozzy.
Connie Francis, better known as a singer, but it did pop up in a few movies here and there.
Sure.
Michael
Many.
Madsen, of course, from Quentin Tarantino films.
Are you going to bark all day, little doggy? Or are you going to bite?
Not a really good actor by any means, but an icon in itself is Hulk Hogan.
That's true.
Yeah. You bet, brother.
Malcolm Jamal Warner, best known
Yes,
for The Cosby Show. Julianne McMahon, best known for stuff like Nip Tuck and Charm, but he was also in the Fantastic Four movie. The original.
The new one?
Well, no, not the new one. The one with
Chris Evans?
Yes, the one with Chris Evans,
Okay.
exactly. Alan Bergman, Oscar, Emmy, Grammy-winning songwriter known for The Way We Were.
Yes.
Kenneth Washington, best known for TV, mostly in Hogan's Heroes.
Ugh.
David Caff was in This Is Spinal Tap.
It goes to
And
11.
Eric might know who this is. Alfie Weiss.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Burt Reynolds' co-star in most of his action comedies.
Exactly. Alfie Weiss. Yep.
August deaths, we had Terrence Stamp. He was the baddie in Superman. He was. Superman 2.
Mm-hmm.
He was also in
He's in a lot of
Yes
things.
Man. I like him in Yes Man.
Yeah,
like that.
he's in a lot of things.
A lot of things, yeah, and usually a baddie. Usually, baddie.
He was definitely a bad guy.
More known for TV, but had some movie roles. Lonnie Anderson,
Yes.
Of course.
Floyd Levine, best known for movies in Baywatch, not movies in Baywatch, TV show Baywatch, and was also in The Hangover. And David Ketchum in Get Smart. September, big name, and probably the biggest name on here, maybe. Well, yeah, we have some really big names. Robert Redford.
Yeah, Robert.
Best known for basically
Everything.
supporting our podcast.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
As one of the greatest actors to have ever lived, yeah.
We've done probably more movies of Robert Redford than we've done of anybody else.
Even Terry Garr?
Yeah, I think he's just barely ahead of Terry Garr.
Just edges Terry Garr?
A little bit.
Graham Greene, actor in Dances with Wolves.
Yeah.
I liked him. I liked him a lot.
Tatanka, Buffalo. Tatanka.
Of course, from that great movie Maverick as well. So.
No, he was no.
Polly Holiday, actor
Holly
in Alice.
Holiday, Alice. Kiss my
Paula
grits.
Shaw.
Kiss my grits.
Paula Shaw, Hallmark Channel star who portrayed Jason's mother in Freddy vs. Jason. Good for her.
Hey.
Youch. That's
I know.
You're
I stretched
stretching
it on that
now.
one. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You're
Your epitaph.
really stretching it now.
Pat Crowley, best known for winning a Golden Globe for Please Don't Eat the Daisies. All right, we're getting close to the end here. October, Diane Keaton, Oscar-winning actress for Annie Hall.
Yeah.
June Lockhart, better known for TV roles like Lassie and Lost in Space.
Lassie was lost in space.
I said Lassie and Lost in Space, Isaac.
That'd be a great movie. Yeah. Or TV show. Yeah.
Samantha Eggar, Oscar-nominated actress for The Collector. Penelope Milford, Oscar-nominated actress in Coming Home. Ed Williams, actor from The Naked Gun. Helen Sif is a character actor. We get into November, and then we have Diane Ladd, Oscar-nominated actress, mother of Lauren Dern. Tom Stoppard, he's an Oscar-winning screenwriter. Sally Kirkland, Golden Globe-winning actress. Pauline Collins, Oscar-nominated actress for Shirley Valentine. Very underrated movie. Don't know a lot of people that have seen that movie, but I like
Never
it.
I have
heard
not
of it.
seen it.
It was originally a play that became a movie. James Ransom, he was in The Wire and the second It movie. And he did a
Mhm.
really good job playing the adult version of the kid who was all germophobic and stuff like that. I thought he did a really good job on that. Isaiah Whitlock Jr., better known for TV stuff like The Wire and Veep.
Yep. Shit.
Bridget Bardot, film actress and animal welfare advocate.
Sex icon of the 60s.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
And of course, the man that we're honoring today in this movie, Rob Reiner, best known for a lot of movies that he's directed, but
So
TV
shocking.
on the Family, and then of course we've done so many movies of his on this podcast as well.
Yes, we have.
Still shocking.
Peter Green, The Mask and Pulp Fiction.
The Witch Mask, the
Jim Carrey.
The Jim Carrey one.
Yeah, he was the baddie in that one. So usually played baddie guys. And these are two more of TV stars. Anthony Geary, best known for General Hospital.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's all he was known for. Let's be honest.
Pretty much. He was
that
Luke,
hair,
wasn't he?
that hair in the 80s, man. Woo!
He was Luke, wasn't he?
He was, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But the last guy was Gil Gerard from Buck Rogers fame.
Gil Gerard, yes.
And that's the people that we've lost in 2025.
You left out one huge person.
Who's that?
And I know that you've left him out because you don't care for his movies, but you left out David Lynch.
He wasn't on any of the list.
Yeah, he died January 15th, 2025.
I wonder why they didn't have him.
Who was this? David Lynch?
David Lynch.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Sorry, David. You weren't on the list of Forbes' people that we lost in 2020.
I don't know why that they would have done that. David Lynch, while his movies are more avant-garde and kind of on the strange side, he was a visionary director. And he deserves to be.
Of course.
I agree.
To be honored.
There's always going to be people that we miss, unfortunately, accidentally, purposefully.
And there's always the award shows always miss people too.
All the time.
Everybody bitches and complains about the
exactly
about that.
I'm kind of surprised that he wasn't on this list that was compiled. There was a lot of people on.
I mean, they listed people there that I have no idea who they even were.
But a lot of big names, a lot of small names. Rob Reiner is the one, of course, that feels so fresh still.
Sure,
because of the way it happened too.
You can't put words into this. It's not. No. You died of old age. Being murdered by your own family member. I mean, your son.
It's devastating.
It is devastating.
The other ones that were really devastating like that this past year was Gene Hackman, of course. The way he died was horrid.
It was horrible. Yeah.
And then, of course, Val Kilmer. I think those are the three that were probably the most shocking for me in 2025. I mean, of course, for Ted, Ozzy.
Ozzy was. You would thought Ozzy was going to live forever. I mean, the guy just beat everything.
He was always there. He was always a part of my life. He made some amazing music, and by all accounts, he came off as such a personality, but he was truly a good human being. Gave to everybody, and that's for a rock star. That's unique.
Anytime you lose any actors, any singers, I mean, it's always tragic if they die young, especially drug overdose, suicide, versus someone maybe in their 90s, 80s. Right. You're like, okay, I get it, but it's never easy. You're always like,
we have
someone
you've
grown up with, someone you've, Robert Redford. Come on. Robert Redford has been in so many great movies. He's one of, if not my favorite actor of all time. And I know he retired from acting, as many actors do. I mean, let's be honest. How long does Jack Nicholson have? Come on, he's been retired.
His career has been dead for over 10 years.
He's retired.
Don't talk that into existence.
He's retired. I don't have that power, unfortunately. So movies that we love, actors. I mean, even And Gene Hackman had been retired for 20 years?
Well, he was in the late stages of dementia.
Exactly.
As well.
But when it happens, you're like, oh.
It sucks.
It does.
I think the biggest problem what I have is when actors retire, they retire on not the best note. I think of like
their worst
Gene
movie.
Hackman. Yeah, I mean,
is
like
that
Gene Hackman does.
movie?
Welcome to Mooseport. It's like that's the movie that we're gonna finish off on.
John Candy, Canadian Bacon, or whatever. Wagons East.
Wagons
East. Wagons East was the one he died on, wasn't he?
Yeah. I mean,
Almost Heroes with Chris Farley.
Yeah, I mean, just some. You're like, this is the legacy you're ending on. It's like,
I mean, if you look at Jack, at least left with The Departed. I mean,
that's true.
Yeah, he went out on top.
Yes.
Yeah.
He went out on top.
Go on top. I mean, Sean Connery did A League of Extraordinary Men, which is
not bad.
A horrible movie, but it's
terrible.
not. But it's not a movie that I think is worthy of being his last movie. And then Val Kilmer, unfortunately, really didn't have a chance to really do a final movie. I mean,
Maverick was.
I don't really count that at all because
it was more of a cameo.
But I like that cameo though.
I did too.
I thought that was one of the better parts of that movie.
And I thought the chemistry there between Tom Cruise and him was, you could tell that there was a love there.
Yeah, I thought that
they had for each other.
For a last movie, I think that's very well done, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my thing is, of course, that he couldn't talk at that time, so his son had to, voice him.
Yeah.
I think when stuff like that happens, you don't give you the opportunity to do your best work possible.
That's true. We have somebody who was taken way too soon in the movie that we're doing in Stand By Me, River Phoenix.
That's
River
true.
Phoenix, yeah.
Died outside the Viper Club.
Bad drug overdose. Yeah.
What they call it wasn't a highball. Was it? What was it?
Speedball.
Speedball.
Heroin and cocaine mixed together.
And he was with Johnny Depp, I believe, that night.
Yeah.
Johnny Depp was there because they owned the Viper Club together.
Yeah.
There was a lot of celebrities there that night. His brother Joaquin was there when it happened. And there's a whole bunch of celebrities that were in the Viper room that night.
So, gentlemen, when was the first time you saw this movie?
The first time I saw this movie, I had a friend who, when I was growing up, who lived across the street. He was a little bit older, and his parents let him have HBO or Showtime. He would tape movies off of there, and then give me the VHS recorded tape. And so this was part of a two he did on this video. He did Stand By Me and The Karate Kid 3.
I miss those days of recording stuff on VHS.
I know, right?
It was such a simpler time.
Yeah.
All right, so you saw it on a bootlegged, pirated VHS tape.
Yeah.
How about you, Ken?
Cable. Probably the year it came out on cable.
Yeah, who knows? Or actually, probably the year after, because it took about a year for those things to get to cable. Honestly, I don't remember the first time I saw this movie. I don't know if it was cable or VHS or DVD. I don't remember the first time. I know I saw it a couple times in like junior high and I think high school, but honestly, I haven't seen this movie in 25 years, easily, up until this podcast.
I know I listened to the soundtrack before I saw the movie, because this is one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. I think I probably wore the cassette tape out.
One of the things I do remember, because I am such an audiophile, the Ben E. King song "Stand By Me," going back to number 1 in 1986, which I think broke a record at that time for a song that was at the top of the charts in
time since that they were on the charts. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I absolutely adore almost every song on this.
Better than Rocky IV?
Yeah, unfortunately. Rocky cures communism. Yeah.
Better than Dirty Dancing?
That's another good one.
Right.
My parents had both discs. I liked that.
Dirty Dancing and more Dirty Dancing?
Yes.
Yes, I'm guilty of owning those myself.
You can shake your head all you want. It's good music, Ken.
It's a good movie too, man.
Yeah,
it's a great soundtrack.
Good movie that's questionable.
Ooh.
That's my
next year. Next year.
Nobody puts Baby in the Corner.
That's right.
Well, that's kind of cheesy.
That's
there's
1987,
a lot
man.
of
We could do
cheese in
that next
movie.
year.
There's a lot of good in that movie, though, too.
No, there's not. Just the music.
All right. Well, on that note,
and the hot
we're
chicks.
ripping Dirty Dancing apart, which we'll be doing next year as it's celebrating its anniversary. Let's go into the particulars of this movie.
The particulars.
Yes.
Oh, the great Stand By Me. Stand By Me was directed by Rob Reiner. It was a screenplay by Reynold Gideon and Bruce Evans. The music and score was by Jack Nietzsche. At least that's how I think it's pronounced. So, it's based off of the novella from different seasons, The Body by Stephen King. Has a running time of 89 minutes. It was released August 22nd, 1986, so right at the end of the summer blockbuster series. Budget of $8 million, box office gross of $52.3 million. It has a Rotten Tomatoes score of a certified fresh 92%, no big surprise, and an audience score of 94%, also no big surprise. An IMDb rating of 8.1, which is, I think, is one of our highest IMDb rates that we had. Stand By Me stars. I might have a few people in here that probably are on the periphery of being a star in this movie, but we'll see. Of stars Will Wheaton as Gordy LaChance, River Phoenix as Chris Chambers, Corey Feldman as Teddy Duchamp, Jerry O'Connell as Vern Tessio, Kiefer Sutherland as Ace Merrill, Casey Simasco as Billy Tessio, Gary Riley as Charlie Hogan, Bradley Gregg as Richard Eyeball Chambers, Jason Oliver as Vince Desjardins, Marshall Paul as Mr. LaChance, Frances Lee McCain as Mrs. LaChance, William Bronder as Milo Pressman, Scott Beach as Mayor Grundy, Richard Dreyfuss as the writer, John Cusack as Denny LaChance, and Andy Lindbergh as David Lardass Hogan. Here at the end of my particulars, I've added a little bit of a section here because this is based off of one of Stephen King's better novellas. Different Seasons is a book of novellas, 4 novellas. You'll recognize the first novella as Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption, Apt Pupil, and The Body. The other novella in this thing was called The Breathing Method, which has never been adapted to a film. As with Stephen King, what is put onto screen is not always the same. In the original short story, The Body, Stephen King, what happens to Teddy and Vern? Teddy is killed in a car wreck, and Vern dies in a house fire. When the boys add up all their money, it comes to $2.37. The number 237 appears constantly in Stephen King books. Ace Merrill also comes back in the book Needful Things. He doesn't appear in that god-awful movie, though. And Teddy Duchamp was mentioned in King's first book of Carrie. The Royal River comes based off of in a lot of different places, as in Salem's Lot and Shawshank Redemption. But one of the things that I wanted to really say here, so this takes place in Castle Rock. The movie says it takes place in Castle Rock, Oregon. Well, in Stephen King lore, Castle Rock is one of the core cities in Maine, along with Deary. Stephen King loved this movie so much that when he saw the first showing that Rob Reiner showed him, he was visibly shaken and he adored this movie. It was such a great transition for him based off of what he went through with The Shining and Stanley Kubrick. He allowed Rob Reiner to name his production company Castle Rock, because Stephen King could have prevented him from making that his production company name. So yeah, this is just a couple of little things about the great Stephen King.
Okay. That's
the preeminent author of the 20th and 21st centuries.
Ken, you ready for your tidbits?
Ken's tidbits.
Do do do
Do
do
do do
do
do
do
do do
do.
Ken's tidbits.
Do do do.
Actor Rob Reiner screened this movie for Stephen King, and he noticed that King was, kind of shaken. And he wasn't speaking. Yeah, he fell asleep like I do at this movie. He left the room, and upon his return, told Reiner that the movie was the best adaptation of his work he had ever seen, which allowed him to do other Stephen King stuff.
Misery.
Keith Sutherland claimed that at one of the locations of the film, they were at a Renaissance fair, and the cast and the crew went ahead and attended it and bought some goodies there. Unfortunately, the goodies turned out to be laced with pot. And 2 hours later, the crew found Jerry O'Connell high and crying somewhere in the park.
So not in awesome. Oregon. That never happens.
That's awesome.
That is
the kids got into trouble a lot, especially in the hotel we have during the filming.
You don't say.
This includes throwing all the poolside furniture into the pool, Wheaton fixing video games in the lobby so they can play them for free, Phoenix unknowingly covering Kiefer Sutherland's car in mud, only discovering whose car it was later. And then, of course, he scared them to death when he confronted them.
Because Kiefer Sutherland is scary.
He is scary.
Nice guy, but very scary.
Yeah, makes me think that, his scary performance here probably got him the role in Lost Boys. So,
oh, definitely.
Rob Reiner considers this his best film. The pond that the boys fall into was actually man-made, but the thing was, it was man-made like 2 months before they started shooting. And the purpose of being a man-made, they didn't want stuff in there that they didn't know anything about. But then they left it unattended for 2 months, so they didn't know what was in there, when they got in anyway.
Yeah, that's based off of
Corey Feldman.
Corey Feldman. We'll take that kind of
anything that Corey Feldman is a grain of salt, right?
He's very Corey Feldman.
Well, Corey Feldman said that Teddy is probably the closest to his personality. So
I could see that.
Jerry O'Connell, at the time of this film, was an 11-year-old boy, and he was impressed that he was allowed to swear. I guess he wasn't allowed to swear as a kid.
And swear he did.
At the instance of director Rob Reiner, who campaigned for anti-smoking laws in California, the cigarettes smoked by the boys were made from lettuce leaves.
It's gross.
So director Rob Reiner had trouble casting the role of the writer. He first cast David Dukes, and then was going to go with Michael McKean, but then he finally decided to go with Richard Dreyfuss.
And they were childhood friends.
High school friends, yes.
High school friends, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad he went with Richard Dreyfuss.
It worked.
Michael McKean would have worked, but I mean, I don't even know who this David Dukes is. He's too close to the Klan guy.
I know. When I first read it, I was like, is it the same guy? Wait, that doesn't make sense when it comes to Robert. It would be funny. Rob Reiner's like such a big activist, and his best friend is David Dukes.
David Duke, yeah.
Right?
No.
Corey Feldman, of course, here's another one from Corey Feldman because he likes to talk. He said in interviews that he and River Phoenix used to meet up at auditions together. And they would just play outside until they were called. The other kids were more nervous, and they were like, yeah, we're just going to hang out.
I can see.
River had actually auditioned for the part of Gordy, but Rob Reiner thought he would make a better Chris. So
he made him cry.
Yeah.
Sean Austin said he auditioned for the role of Chris right after River Phoenix. When now Austin walked into the room, he said he knew that he had no chance because he saw the filmmakers were choked up and pulling back tears.
Nice.
Meaning that Phoenix had just nailed the audition.
Like, I'm done. I get it.
River Phoenix would have been considered one of the better actors of all time, I think, had he lived.
Yeah, we will never know, unfortunately. Film success resulted in a renewed interest in Benny E. King's song, Stand By Me. King's version of the song was originally released in 1961 and was re-released at the time of the film. The re-release would reach the top 10, peaking at number 9 in the fall of 1986.
How about that?
Fall of 1986.
I remember the fall of 86 very well.
Originally, they wanted Michael Jackson to do a cover of Stand By Me.
I am so glad that didn't happen.
Yes. That's
the whole film relies on the nostalgic soundtrack, the music.
Exactly.
Yes.
Keep the originals; they're great.
Yes.
So, Columbia Pictures were concerned that the original title, "The Body," was misleading, so they renamed the film "Stand By Me."
Yeah,
I guess there was some worry that the body would be considered maybe a sex movie.
Could be anything. I mean, it's wide open for
Kiefer Sutherland thought he was the reason why.
Of course, Kiefer Sutherland thinks
that they changed the name because he was playing the song "Stand By Me." I think with one of the other actors,
with River Phoenix,
teaching him how to play the guitar.
Yeah, because River Phoenix was a guitar player.
Yes, he was. Since 2007, the city of Brownsville, Oregon, which of course served for the setting for Castle Rock here, they do a annual Stand By Me Day.
That's kind of cool.
As they should.
The vomit used for a Lardass story was made from cottage cheese and blueberry mix.
Now, how come everyone in the audience was puking blueberry too? Didn't that seem odd?
That is odd.
I'm like, everyone's puke is blue. It's like, doesn't make sense. But whatever.
Maybe it's a blueberry festival.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
Some of the audiences in the behind the scenes also got sick too from just probably the smell of it all. Maybe something we'll talk about later is the significance of the deer. So maybe I'll save that for later, but there are some fan theories out there. So we'll maybe touch on that a little bit later. So the kids soaked Corey Feldman's clothes in beer and then dried them up so they would smell like a wino.
Or maybe Corey Feldman just smelled like a wino.
That could be possible.
Or maybe Corey Feldman was a wino.
Talking about it, Corey Haim auditioned for the role of Gordy, but the studio wanted him to play Chris. He didn't want to play the role of the best friend, so he turned it down in favor of Lucas.
He did good in Lucas, though. I mean,
but that Lucas is not Stand By Me, though.
So. No, it's not, but it's still a very iconic movie, though.
And his friend was Corey Feldman at the time, and of course,
the Coreys.
Yeah. Adrian Lynn was set to direct this film, but was forced to hand it over to Rob Reiner when 9.5 weeks ran over schedule.
Wow, what a departure. Can you imagine going from 9.5 weeks directing that movie to Stand By Me? Holy shit.
The boys sing the ballad of Paladin, which is the ending theme song for the TV series Have a Gun, Will Travel. Songwriter Johnny Western.
Johnny Western, really? That's beautiful.
I know, right? You're going to become a Western singer if your last name is Western, I guess.
Don't have a choice.
Successfully sued the producers for not securing the rights beforehand.
How dare he?
Other guys that were up for the role of Gordy was Stephen Dorff and Ethan Hawke.
Oh, Ethan Hawke.
I could see Ethan Hawke.
One change of the movie at the end, Richard Dreyfuss at the end says, "I never had any friends later on like the ones I had when I was 12. Jesus, does anyone?" That was changed from the novel, which he actually says, Jesus, did you?
Did you, yeah.
Last thing on these tidbits, Rob Reiner was told by the producers that they needed a bunch of obscenities to get the MPAA R rating since they thought nobody would go see a PG or a PG-13 Stephen King
movie. Yeah.
Well, also, let's be honest. I mean, kids of that era, all they did was swear. So let's make it realistic.
That's what kids do.
Yeah.
I mean,
and we'll throw cigarettes in there too, because everyone in the 1950s smoked and drank,
especially after a meal.
Especially after a meal. That's right.
Gotta cherish these times.
You do have to cherish these times. Absolutely. All right.
That's all I have for my tidbits.
That's what he's got for tidbits.
That's what he's got for his tidbits. The plot.
The film centers on 4 12-year-old boys, Gordy LaChance, Chris Chambers, Teddy Duchamp, and Vern Tessio. After Vern overhears his older brother talking about the location of a missing body of a local boy named Rain Brower, The group decides to embark on a 2-day trek along the railroad tracks to find the body. Each boy has its own personal struggles. Gordy is grieving the recent death of his older brother. Chris faces the stigma of his family-troubled reputation. Teddy deals with the abusive parent, and Vern struggles with self-esteem. As the boys travel through the woods and along the tracks, they encounter various obstacles: a dangerous railway bridge, leeches in a pond, and confrontations with older teens. Their adventure is filled with moments of humor, fear, emotional honesty. The journey tests their friendship and courage, bringing them closer together and allowing them to confront personal fears and insecurities. Upon reaching the body, the boys are confronted by a group of older bullies led by Ace Merrill. Such a great name. In a tense standoff, Gordy stands up to Ace, and the boys ultimately decide to report the location of the body anonymously rather than claim credit. This decision marks a turning point, signifying their growth and understanding of morality. The film closes with Gordy reflecting on the events years later, marking on lasting impact of that summer and the friendships forged. Isn't it odd that all the bullies are like related, like brothers of the younger kids?
Castle Rock's a small town.
Of course it is. Yes, 1,200 people.
And by the time Needful Things was written, Ace hasn't changed a bit. And he spent time in Shawshank too.
Nice.
He's still a piece of shit.
The main plot of Stand By Me: 4 boys' journey across Oregon for 2 days. How does this change them?
It's a metaphor for the traveling from childhood to early young adulthood. There's a lot of things that you do as a child that once you reach a certain age, you no longer hold on to those things that you once held dear, and you start to change. And you kind of see that throughout their story, especially when River Phoenix's character tells Gordy that, we're going to be in different classes. You're never going to see us again. And because you're smarter than we are. It's a metaphor, like I said, for you're moving on from childhood into young adulthood. It's a natural transition. And it just so happens that these kids go through it on a path to try to see this dead body.
Well, I don't know if it's a natural transition. I believe that, this trek to find this body, these friends who are completely different personalities, and we'll talk about that later, but each one of them has their own unique personality, and yet they all get together and they're all very close friends. The bonding that goes through this for the 2-day trek is really what sets the course of the movie. You learn so much about their fears. You learn so much about their triumphs, their fails, just everything, the deep things that they have kept inside all come out during this trek for 2 days. They realize this is it. This is the summer. After this, things are going to change, which is very, very common. Well, maybe not as common today, but this is 1959. Even going into our childhood, we probably all had events that really kind of shaped us. And you kind of knew that this is a bonding moment between close friends. And after that, things are going to change. People are going to part. Things are going to leave. And it's just the way of life.
No, the novel, Different Seasons, I want to say that this was fall, because it starts out with spring, summer,
well, they're not in
fall,
school yet,
winter.
so they can't be in fall.
But King is using that as a metaphor for the change that these kids are going through. And so, because in fall, things are changing. The colors change on the trees, and the year's coming to an end, and things like that. And you're
Pumpkin
becoming
spice
something
latte
new.
season.
Right.
I don't see it, only because it's a month later is fall's when fall begins. So leaves don't change color and for another two more months almost.
You're taking it too literally.
I'm taking it as this is a movie.
The movie, man. The movie.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about a book because we're not reviewing a book. We're reviewing a movie.
So the movie is about change. But
yes, but I'm also going to disagree with both of you. I think when it comes to like Gordy and Chris, yes, there's changes being happened. I don't know if we have the same changes going on with Teddy and Vern. I don't know if they're changed from all whatever has happened here. Mainly because these two are, Gordy and Chris are consistently talking with each other about stuff like school and life and the things that they're going through, where we're not really seeing, especially, Vern. If anybody is still the same at the end of this movie, it's Vern. No, Vern doesn't seem to have any problems outside that he's kind of a dweeb, I guess, who ends up marrying Rebecca Romaine. My wife was watching it and she's like, so he's the fat kid? And she's like, he's not that fat. I'm like, he's a little husky,
Jerry O'Connell,
but I mean but that's how I look at it, is I don't feel like this journey really changed all four of them. Just the two main kids.
They are maturing faster than the other two. We get that by their end story when the narrator tells what happens to them.
Well, not even to mention the end scene with the gun. They're off in the distance hiding or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, you're definitely right. The two big ones.
Gordy and Chris are maturing faster than the other two. And this is something that happens, is very natural that this change happens like this in a friend group like this. It's very real. I will give the screenwriters of this movie immense credit. They captured Stephen King and all of his glory of his writing outside of The Shawshank Redemption and a handful of other movies. They captured the heart of what Stephen put on the page about this, because this is essentially Stephen King's story of his childhood. And that's why he was shaken when he saw this movie after Rob Reiner showed it to him. And that's why Rob Reiner and Stephen King were friends until what happened in December. Everything that happens here is real. The trip that they go on is a transformative trip, metaphorically and on the screen. It's not just them walking the 30 miles to the back Harlow Road.
It's not only just a transformative type of deal. I think, first of all, the name of this movie that has been changed to is Stand By Me. So that makes me think this is more of a friendship movie. This is about the two main ones, Gordy and Chris, standing by each other. The other two, like Eric said earlier, they run off. Whenever something happens that there's a threat, the other two go the other way, which is kind of funny because thing Teddy is, he wants to get into like fights and he wants to be brave and stuff.
But he's obviously a product of an abusive household.
Either a product of an abusive household, or he might just have a mental illness that hasn't been, it's 1959, 1960, somewhere around that area. And you think that maybe Teddy might have some type of mental illness. It might be his father sounds like he had mental illness. It could be something.
Well, let's kind of go a little bit further on that. Let's talk about each character. Let's talk about each character individually, kind of like as to kind of get a feel of the movie. We'll talk about Teddy first. Teddy, a little bit of undiagnosed issues.
Yeah, I think that we're in a time where teachers were good. There was good teachers, but they were not in tune to the psychological problems that were occurring in their students. Whereas we sit here now today, he would be pulled aside for a special group and for therapy because of what he's going through at home. His dad, I mean, almost he tried to burn him to death. He put his ear against the stove and burned it off. He's went through a lot of traumatic stuff, and it comes in his attitude. You see him because he wants to dodge the train. He gets mad at Chris for not letting him dodge the train. He feels like he has to prove himself because his dad stormed the beaches of Normandy and was forever changed by that. And he feels inferior that way. He also is the catalyst for one of the most famous scenes in the movie. It's one of the most famous scenes in movie history, is where they walk across the railroad bridge. And he's perfectly logical. He's like, I'm going straight across this. I know the risks, and what happens if, and they ask him straight up, what happens if a train comes? He goes, well, I'll just jump. It's 100 feet down to the river. He's probably going to die, but he doesn't care. And that's sad. He's a sad character if you really think about it. But he's also a fun character though too, because he's still 12 years old.
He's also a character I think you got to be careful of being with a friend like that. That type of friend can get you into some trouble. I mean, you can get killed because of something that he got you into.
Right.
But at the same time, I think he might be...
He's not a leader, though.
He's not a leader by any means, no. But he needs to feel like he has to prove himself to a certain extent. But however, I'm thinking as the train gets closer, I think he gets out of the way eventually. And the reason why I say that is for some of the reasons why you just said. He doesn't jump when the train comes. He runs. When the older kids come later on, he leaves. So at the end of the day, he wants to be like his father, but he's not his father. And I think that's somewhat of what he struggles with too. Because, right. I mean, when he's called a loony and that his dad is a loony, he gets set off by what he says about his dad. And his dad might do these bad things to him, but he's like, my dad is a great man. He really goes to bat for his dad.
Yeah.
And he's at that age where I would imagine that he was born after Normandy. It has to be.
Because it's 59. Normandy's 40, 44.
He's a baby. He's a true baby boomer.
He is.
He was born probably in 47. They're 12 years old. It's 59. So, yeah, he would have been born in 47. His dad came home from the war, and they didn't call it PTSD back then because they didn't know that PTSD existed. They called it being shell-shocked.
And he might have some type of, that could be in the form of, bipolar to a certain extent because of mood changes and stuff. Maybe sometimes...
It's a little early for bipolar diagnosis.
Right. But I'm just saying it's like bipolar in the fact that he's going back and forth. He might be a great father at times and a horrible father at other times.
Right,
based on what mental capacity he's at that particular time.
And there's a lot to be told by their final story at the end. A lot can be told about the character as where they're at in this journey by their final story. And Gordy says that he's been in and out of prison. And we know that he worked at a gas station in the book Carrie.
Well, let's talk about Gordy. Now that we're bringing Gordy up.
Gordy's the character that I identify with the most. And without a shadow of a doubt. It's why I'm so drawn to this movie. Because I am the same. I'm 100%. I was Gordy LaChance. I didn't have a brother who died or anything like that. I'm just saying I didn't want to move on from going from grade school. I ended up going from grade school to high school because I went to private school and we went to the 8th grade and then into high school. I didn't want to make that transition. I wanted to hold on to the things that were my childhood.
You wanted to keep your youth, huh?
Yeah, and
a lot of people are like that, and
I struggle with that today.
I think these 4 characters are very drawn to their youth.
Yeah, I struggle with that today. I don't like that change and that moving on. I sympathize with him. I used to come up with stories too, and I'm not anywhere near of a good storyteller or writer that of any note of anything, but he wants to hold on to these guys as they are right now at 12 years old. And I completely sympathize with that 100%.
Well, I think his brother dying as well, very traumatic in his life, as his brother was the favorite. He was an afterthought. And the dreams that he had where it should have been you who died, at the funeral, tells a whole lot about his mindset as a character and where he feels. He's very, very low on himself. He has no
his parents are broken.
His parents are broken, therefore he is broken. He does not have a lot of desire. Encouragement, desire. Everyone says, "Oh, you're a great author. You write great stories." He doesn't feel he does.
Chris was probably the person who comforted him
exactly
when his brother died.
Well, yeah, and I think Chris is the replacement for his brother because his brother is his biggest fan.
Clearly, I agree 100%.
Encourager. And I think losing his brother, took away, to a certain extent, his maybe love for writing. His dad, of course, is not encouraging him. His mother is kind of flighty. She kind of goes based on what the father sounds like.
It took away his innocence.
It did.
Yeah. So maybe, seeing this dead body doesn't have as massive a change. Gordy's already going through the change before these three are. I think,
and he's fighting it.
Yeah, and he's fighting the change, but he's working through it with Chris. Chris is the one guy he can go to talk through all these changes he's going through. And we'll talk about Chris here in a second. But Chris is a great guy to kind of say what you're thinking. Like some of the things, like he's like, I'm not going to take those classes. And he's like, you're stupid if you do that. He's because he sees the potential. And
Chris tells him, I wish I was your dad.
Right.
Yeah. Because, he wouldn't treat him the way that he's treating him.
Chris is ultimately jealous of Gordy and the talents he has. They were God-given talents, as he said. You need to use them.
Yeah. It's the father he just hate him. Right. Because of the fact that even before the death of his brother, his father treated him like shit, didn't even recognize anything that he did. It's all about, his brother going to play baseball, scouts coming to see him and stuff like that. I like Gordy in the sense, I think this is a good time to kind of bring up the deer scene, because I think that Gordy right now, I think we all could relate with probably to a certain extent. So why does he, when the deer looks at him and he smiles at him, I think it's kind of maybe of an acknowledgement of just be a kid, still be, for me, there's that innocence of that deer just walking up to him. Right.
Yeah.
And I just feel like Gordy is smiling at him because the deer represents what he still is.
Purity and innocence.
Yeah.
To a certain extent. And he still has
desires that.
Some of that in him. And he's been changed, but at the same time, he still has some of that in that. And I think that deer tries to remind him.
And he's holding on with both hands what he can hold on to of that innocence and that childhood. He's holding on for dear life with everything he has in him that to hold dear to that. And everything is still changing. And that's a struggle. Yeah. And it's a struggle that, like I said, it's a struggle that I still deal with. Not very many times has a Stephen King character come from the book to the screen like this. It's hard to capture Stephen King characters and put them on the silver screen. It really is. It's very difficult because they are so complex. They do a great job here with these characters.
Well, how about Chris's character? Let's talk about him for a minute.
Wow.
He is my favorite character. Clearly.
He's amazing.
Yes.
Another just amazing written character that is so complex. He's had to grow up faster than everybody else.
Right.
Because his dad's a piece of shit, his brother's a piece of shit, and everybody in town, in a small town, knows that his family name is a piece of shit. So there's nothing that he can do to outrun his last name. And I sympathize completely with the fact when he says, I want to go live somewhere where nobody knows my last name. I actually had that conversation with my therapist. That's so ironic. I actually had that conversation because everybody knew my dad. It's daunting to have that foisted upon your shoulders, good or bad. In my case, it was good, but in Chris's case, it was bad.
And he knew it was bad, and he knew no matter what, he'd like with the milk money. It didn't matter.
But it crushed him.
It did.
It crushed him that the adult that he trusted betrayed him that way. Because she knew she could get away with it because of his last name.
I know.
But at the same time, Chris did originally steal that money. So,
He did.
I mean, Chris does have some things that he's still struggling with. The name is one thing, but he's like, and I think he struggles with the fact that I have that reputation, so might as well. And then he stole the gun
from his dad,
and he brought it with him. And it's a good question. Did he really, really not believe that the gun was loaded?
No, I don't.
I don't think he did. I don't think he thought it was loaded.
Makes me think that Chris could be irresponsible then.
Sure, of course he can.
I mean, if you don't check to see
if the gun's loaded, he's still 12 years old.
He's still a kid, and I get that. But he's kind of the grown up in this group, right?
He is,
because he's the one that actually brings everybody back to their center. He's the one guy that brings everybody back. He brings he brings Teddy back. He brings Gordy back. Vern is just Vern. Yeah, so we'll talk about Vern here in a second. But he's the one that kind of tries to bring everybody back to the center. And that's how he dies. He dies because he tries to stop a fight. He tries to bring everybody back to that center. And he pays the price for it. I think Chris is one of those also guys that believes he sees the good in everybody else, but doesn't see the good in him.
I can sympathize with that too.
Yeah. He doesn't believe in himself, but he believes in others.
It's like being in my therapy sessions.
I mean, I think that's why this movie works, is because you have these characters who are, all four of them are kind of dealing with different things. I mean, Teddy and Chris have similar kind of things that they're dealing with right now, but Chris has a stronger head on his shoulder. I don't know if Chris's mom is gone. We don't hear anything about his mom, just about the dad.
His dad's a drunk, essentially. And he's just, he's a no account. He's always at the bar, most likely, and getting shit-faced, and comes home and he beats his kid.
I think to make this movie a little bit more realistic, and I know this sounds kind of weird to do this, but I think there should have been bruises on his body when they had to take off their clothes to get the leeches off.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's
scars, like scars of some sort, like
right? Because you can see Teddy's
beating with a belt. Yeah,
because you can see Teddy's scar,
his ear. Yeah,
Chris has had to grow up faster than everybody else.
Where he's grown up, whereas Teddy's kind of been more of diving into a fantasy world, being a soldier on the beach and with his machine gun, and so he's living in a made up world for himself, whereas Chris is more of a realist. He's more of a realist, I guess.
Yeah, I would agree.
He doesn't have time for the fantasy, because I think it's ironic that the two characters who sing the Paladin song, "Have Gun Will Travel," are Teddy and Vern.
Sure.
The other two don't sing that song. And there is something about that, because if you think about the lyrics of the song,
I think Vern watches a lot of TV, and I think Teddy watches a lot of TV, kind of as an escape, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Yeah.
I think Chris is somebody that probably has to do all the chores in the household and take care of everything. He doesn't have time.
Because his brother's a piece of shit scumbag.
Yep.
And his dad's a piece of shit scumbag. Yeah, if he wants anything, he has to do it himself.
Well, let's talk about Vern quickly here.
Oh, Vern.
Not too much to talk about Vern. He's, I don't know, man, pretty one-dimensional. Maybe you guys can analyze him a little bit more.
He's the kid out of the group. He's
a perpetual child.
Yeah.
Yep. If anybody is the innocence, it's him.
He will always have that sense of innocence. People will say that he's gullible.
Do you think he's gullible?
Is he gullible? No, I don't think he's gullible. I think that's just the mentality that he has.
Yeah.
If there's one character that just relies basically on innocence, it's him.
Is it innocence or is it more just naive? You know, I think
naive. There's some naivete in there.
I think there's some naive. I think he's also the one that's the most scared in the group.
Well, yeah, he doesn't want to take any chances.
Well, yeah, no, he's definitely the Laurel from Laurel and Hardy in that sense. He's a scaredy cat.
He's the one that gets picked on. Yeah, at the beginning of the movie, he doesn't know.
Sympathize with that too.
He forgets the secret knock.
He forgets where he buried his pennies.
He's a couple of cards short of a full deck.
And Gordy's dad says that to Gordy, 2 Phoebes and a thief, when he describes his friends.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but I would say, if anything, Vern is the kid that I want Gordy to hang out with, because he's the one that you're not worried to get in trouble with. You know, out of the 4, he's the one that's going to kind of be the straight and narrow and not take risk. The fact that he is doing, if you were at the beginning of the movie, when he brings up, hey, you want to see a dead body?
Which all their eyes light up, right?
But then when they really want to do it, all of a sudden Vern is like, I don't know. We might get in trouble. You know, what if our parents find out?
He brings the comb. Him bringing the comb sums him up perfectly, because that's his mentality.
What sets him up, what I think is him perfectly, is the train tracks and him on his knees,
crawling
across the train tracks.
I think that's
exactly his
character. I will tell
right
you, that would have been me.
Oh, that would have been me too. I'm scared of heights first.
There's no way in hell that I would have been able to walk across that bridge.
And I think when we've talked about each of these characters, we're like, yeah, that's me. That's part of me. I think that's what is so good about these 4 characters, is you could bring out something from each of these characters that's you.
That's the brilliance of Rob Reiner and Stephen King. And that's why this is a perfect marriage. Rob Reiner does this throughout almost every single one of his great movies, is he builds these characters that you can see yourself in that character. Because you can always see yourself as Inigo Montoya or as Buttercup, all of the different characters from The Princess Bride. You can see yourself as the guys from Spinal Tap.
I don't know about Spinal Tap, but
you could see yourself as Harry or Sally, and when Harry met Sally.
That I can see. American President is another one that I think.
Yes,
that I think those
highly
characters
relatable.
Are really relatable, even though they're smarter characters, as I say, because they're in. You know, they've done their homework basically and gotten to their respective fields. But someone like Michael J. Fox's character in American President, you can relate to him in a lot of different ways, because he represents, America,
right?
The voter, basically.
That's why this is the perfect marriage, because you have Rob Reiner, who played Meathead, which not enough credit is ever given to All in the Family as far as the complexity of the characters that were put on screen and the stories that they told. They told very uncomfortable stories and made it palatable in a half-hour sitcom. And it's that power that he garnered from Norman Lear and from his dad and from Mel Brooks and all of the people that he surrounded himself with as a child. He knows how to put the human element in his characters and that they have to have a humanity. And that's the thing that Stephen King does to a level that is really unmatched in modern writing.
I think it's interesting that Rob Reiner is able to do this based on the fact that he has Carl Reiner as his dad and people that were surrounding him at the time. You know, these are not ordinary people. These are
legends
icons
of comedy.
Extraordinary
exactly.
people.
But he somehow, and I think maybe it's the show's, maybe the parenting in this particular case of Carl Reiner is, you know, keeping them grounded and keeping them like having a normal childhood and able to do those type of things. You know, we now with Rob Reiner, you know, being gone, we're hearing so many more stories about his relationships with all these other, you know, famous people. Albert Brooks, you know, being, you know, one of them. And there's
Carrie Always.
Yeah. There's just so many different people that were part of his life, and you're just like, that's why he's able to pull what he's able to pull is because he's surrounded himself with so many people. And Norman Lear is a good example too. Probably taught him some things. I don't know if it was Norman Lear that said that he was his like adopted son, or that or the other way around. And I disagree with you. I don't think All in the Family is like underrated at all when it comes to that stuff. I think people, when they think of edgy, you know, TV shows, All in the Family is in the top 3 of anybody's list. So I don't think that show is necessarily underrated. But Rob Reiner does a great job taking material. You know, we talk The Princess Bride, for instance. You know, he's able to take material and make it come to life on screen. You know, that's his gift.
Beautiful storyteller.
Yes, you're right.
Beautiful. It's art at its highest level. It really truly is, and it's a talent. It's why it's so devastating as to what happened. Like Jerry O'Connell, the show that I watched about Rob Reiner, Jerry O'Connell was almost inconsolable when he was talking about Rob Reiner. Jerry O'Connell had a relationship with Rob Reiner all the way up until the day he died. Rob Reiner checked in with all of these characters, or not characters, but all of these actors. Kiefer Sutherland basically credits his entire career to Rob Reiner. It's a beautiful thing when you have such a beautiful soul like that.
So why do you guys think Stand By Me remains as popular and relevant decades after its release?
I'd say it's relevant, but I don't know if it's as popular. Okay. This is a movie for me, like, for instance, I hadn't seen probably in 20 plus years, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not a movie that I hear about a lot, and not until recently because of Rob Reiner's passing.
I talk about it a lot, though.
Well, you talk a lot about a lot of things. Well, so, but I think it's an important movie for anybody to see because of the fact that it's a great storytelling movie. It has deep young characters, and it makes you think about. I think it makes you think differently based on when you saw it too. So I was 14, 15 years old when this movie came out. So I could relate with the kids, but I didn't understand the deepness of it, these characters, right? For me, it was like, hey, it's a movie about going to find a dead body. It's an adventure movie, basically, for me. It's not a character study for me at 15 years old. But as you get older, it's a reflection movie. It's a movie about reflecting about your youth. A good way of reflecting your youth and how you made the most out of yourself based on things that happen with your friends and your teachers and your family members and life in general. It's a nice retrospective, basically.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Ken. I don't think I could have summed that up any better. Is the movie as popular as it was in 86 as it is now? No. It garners a little bit more popularity with the passing of Rob Reiner, but I think people have seen it can definitely relate to it. Even with it being set in 1959, it definitely has a very relatable aspect to it. Do you guys think that this story would be different if it was set in present day? Or how might I, okay, that's a dumb question because it would be different. How might it be different? Are they walking around with cell phones? Are they gamers? I mean, would they even have this type of friendship? Is that friendship type even possible?
Yeah, I think it's possible.
I don't think it as possible, only because of social media and everything that kids these days they see already, whether it be on TV
right,
or on their phone or anything like that. These kids, 59, 60, these are kids that are barely getting any information. I think if you did it in a small town, again, like this movie is done, where everybody kind of knows everybody, that you still might be able to get away with it. But I think it's really hard to make a movie like this now, based on these characters. I mean,
it's
it would
hard
look
to
totally,
capture the innocence.
yeah, it would be a totally different movie. I think you could still do deep character studies on each kid going through something at home. A good example of this would be, like, we haven't done it yet, but The Breakfast Club, for instance, is kind of like this type of movie, but it's set in a detention on a Saturday, right?
Right.
So, and
More urban setting.
all these kids have different like issues that they're going through and that they're struggling with. So I think these movies are kind of similar to each other in that.
Actually, they are.
Aspect.
Yeah, it would be different. It would have a different tone to it. You can still tell the transformative story from youth to young adulthood. Today, it would be different as to how it happened. I think these problems for kids in their households and in their lives, they still exist. It's just in a different context right now than it was then. A lot of the stuff that these kids go through is behind closed doors.
I wouldn't make this movie a 2025 movie. I would do maybe a 1995 movie. Something, still like what this movie did, where it's like you're looking back 20 something years, roughly 25 years, roughly, I think is what this movie is doing.
Yeah.
It's close to that. Yeah.
Somewhere around there, kind of doing something similar to a certain extent. Because what this movie does really well, back in 1986, what this movie did really well was they took music from that era and made you relive it.
Right.
The music is so important in this movie because of the fact that it sets the tone for this timeline where we're at.
And this era of that rock and roll is innocence.
This is Buddy Holly era stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. This is the innocence of rock and roll before Buddy Holly died, the day the music died. This is that bubblegum music, that rock and roll music before the 60s came and reality set in. Because this is also can be considered a transformative movie for America as well. Moving on from the idealism of the 50s into the harsh reality that was the 60s.
Right. Okay. Well, we'll end it with one final question here. If you could change one thing about this story, or even its ending, or its beginning, or backstory, what would it be and why?
I have to defer to Ken to start this off.
You can defer to me if you want. I've got an opinion.
Yes,
go for it.
Okay,
go for it.
So my opinion, I would have liked. So the movie's about an hour and a half long, perfect length. You got a little bit of room. You could add maybe another 5 minutes. I would have liked to seen when he is reflecting, when Richard Dreyfuss is reflecting at the end of the movie. I would have liked to seen the grown-up versions of the kids. Kind of a little 30-second blurb, Vern grew up and had 4 kids. Here's Vern with his 4 kids. Maybe a picture of Chris in line at the fast food restaurant right before he's killed. Just something. Just little snippets of this is what they are today. in 1985, 86. That's what I would have liked for me.
That's good.
Yeah.
That is really good.
I don't know if I want that. And here's the reason why. The end of the movie basically talks about how relationships with friends are. Like, how many of us have friends that we had when we were 11 and 12 years old that are still our friends right now?
None.
Right?
None.
Basically none, or maybe one. Like, I have like one person that I occasionally talk to here and there. I think it's realistic that you don't have any contact anymore with all three of these guys. I mean, that's saying I wish, because of how strong the friendship was between Chris and Gordy, that maybe we had something that they saw each other within the last year. I think he said he hadn't seen them in 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years.
Yeah.
So I would rather have seen something that they got together like within a year ago and reminisced or something like that. That's all I really need, is for those two to get together more recently, for me to feel like I feel like that hurts a little bit more than somebody you hadn't seen in 10 years. Because for me, like, for instance, I have friends, unfortunately, who have passed away throughout the years. The ones that I had, like, more recent, seen them recently, hit harder than somebody I hadn't seen in 4, 5, 10, 20 years, because they haven't been around lately, and I don't have that same connection. So 10 years for me is a long time for that to be the case. Granted, what they went through was, something really special, and traumatizing to a certain extent too. But yeah, that's my thought process. If I had one thing to change, that they had saw each other, just those two characters, within the past year. I don't know if you needed to do a scene where they're having, dinner, and they're talking about, their lives and their families and things of that nature. But I think that's the one little thing I would change.
Ted?
Yeah, I knew that was going to come back to me. I don't know.
Yeah, if you don't have an answer, you don't have an answer. That's fine.
Yeah, this is tough, because
that's cool.
The reason that it's tough is because if you add or remove something from this, you risk toppling it over.
Well, it's a different movie. We get that. Yeah.
I like both of what you guys said. I think that each in their own way could add a layer of complexity to it. I think that if there was something to add, it would have been at the end. I mean, we do get to see the narrator play outside the window after he types the final line.
Right.
We get to see him interacting with his kids.
Right.
Maybe more of the narrator giving his present day story and having it seep in a little bit more, where the kids just say, well, you said that an hour ago.
Yeah. And, that's typical parents, though. I mean,
right.
Typical parents.
I got two things that I can really quickly add here that I want to add here. One thing, talking about the narrator at the end, instead of, him finishing up the book right there, why not him seeing something that his kid's doing? Maybe his kid's an artist or something, and he comes by and notices it and comments, how wonderful his drawing is turning out. It would be consistent with the film of, supporting, like, what we hated most was the fact that Gordy wasn't getting support from his father. Right. And that Chris and his brother were the two guys that were really, like, encouraging him. Here at the end, the narrator is kind of like ditching his kid for the last hour instead of being there for him to, I would have probably liked to see some type of encouragement. Here's the other thing that I think would have been interesting. So Ace threatens these kids.
Yes.
At the, when Gordy pulls a gun on him, right? What if it was Ace that actually killed
Chris? Killed Chris. Yeah.
I don't know if I want that exactly, but
no.
I want some kind of recognition of what happened to Ace in this film, because he says, I'm going to get you.
Yeah.
And
this
I think
isn't
his
over,
character,
right?
his character is somebody who's vindictive, and would have gone after them. I would have liked to hear something about that at least.
He's still vindictive.
He's a psychopath.
Things too. He's one of the catalyst characters in that book.
Sure, but I want to know why he didn't get revenge on these kids. I would like to hear
that's
why.
that's in the novella. He beats the hell out of them. He gets each one of them alone, and he beats the hell out of them.
And maybe that's something I would want to hear. At the end of at the end is like, or after he says, "I'm going to get you," and maybe the narrator goes, "He did eventually get all four of us. He did beat the crap out of us." Something to that extent, instead of just kind of leaving it out there. I kind of would have liked the narrator kind of just came back and said, if he said something like that, yeah, we paid for it later. Not with our lives, but he beat the crap out of us. Then
some acknowledgement that,
some acknowledgement. It just for me, it just kind of lingered out there forever. And I'm like, well, what did he do? So if I didn't read the book, I don't know.
Ace is exposed though by Gordy, and he would have had to have done something to regain his bad exterior, because Gordy exposes him as a fraud.
I don't think he exposes him as a fraud. I mean,
he's scared to death that he's going to shoot him.
Well, because he could tell that he meant it, and Gordy did mean it. I mean,
he would have shot him.
He would have shot him. So actually, I mean, he doesn't act scared. He even says, "This isn't over." He's like, "Are you going to shoot all of us?" He's like, "No, just you." And when he says that, he's like, "I need to back down here." So I don't think really he exposes. I still think Ace he's a badass motherfucker. And I don't think he's a scaredy cat in any type of means. I think the gun, if it was a knife, if they both had a knife, I think you would have a knife fight. But a gun versus a knife, remember the Untouchables, you don't bring a knife to a gunfight.
Bring a knife to a gunfight. But yeah, Ace, Ace is headed for Shawshank.
Yeah, I mean, he's a despicable character. I probably would have liked to not seen as many of the brothers be part of this gang and be part of something. I wish one of the two characters had. I get that, but I wish one of the two characters were kind of more in it, because that's the thing to do. They all seem to be assholes, and they all seem to be like, ready to go to prison. And I would like to see a little bit. If one thing lacks depth is the characters in the gang, but you can't give everybody a backstory and everything like that. So
that's so ironic, because my final point is that Stephen King always pokes fun at himself.
Mm-hmm.
And so after Gordy tells the story of Lardass,
the ending,
Teddy doesn't like the ending.
Right.
And of course, that's always been the decry from people who don't like Stephen King, or even those who do like Stephen King, is that he could never end a story on a satisfying note.
Whatever.
But
they make fun of it in It Chapter 2. So I mean,
yes, they totally do, and
like multiple times.
Yeah, that's always humorous.
On that note, since we brought up that scene, I think we do need one more question. And is there a scene that sticks out to you in this movie? Because we haven't touched on a lot of the scenes that are in this movie, and because there's a lot, we focused a lot on the characters.
We can do that. We can do like a wild card.
So many scenes. You got the chompers, sick balls.
The reason that's interesting is by what the narrator says, that was my first introduction into myth not equaling reality.
Mm-hmm. You got this little dog. Oh, it's not little.
It's a golden retriever,
right? A little golden retriever. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, who really wouldn't hurt a fly.
Well, let's talk about that. We'll in the final question here. We'll talk about a scene, favorite scene, something we didn't bring up, a wild card, if you will, something you want to talk about scene wise. Ken, go ahead.
I think it's the train scene where they got caught on the train, on the tracks. You have Gordy, who he's feeling the train tracks and stuff like that, and he sees the smoke. But just the fact that Vern he continues to want to continue the crawl. Gordy has to like get him going.
He goes into the fetal position.
Pretty much. Yeah.
He's scared.
He's going to get hit. He's going to
die.
Hit. Yeah. That scene seems to me to stick out. That and maybe the leeches. The great thing about this movie is the consistency of each scene. Because, I mean, just before I just mentioned that scene right there where they're in the junkyard and they get caught, late in the junkyard and stuff like that. You have so many scenes that you can choose from. So
there are many. There are really many.
Picking out a favorite scene is tough. It's because there, like Ken said, there is so many. I think the iconic look of the kids running in front of the train is always something that's always stuck out.
Not a great special effect, but I get it.
But it was done very well.
Part of it was, and part of it wasn't. Part of it you could see it was a kind of a green screen.
Like it actually wasn't. When they jumped.
Trust me, that whole thing. Yeah, right before you could tell that was
they used a real train
for part of it, but not for the whole thing. You can tell.
There at the very
at least
beginning
on the version that I saw, it was clear as day. It was a partial green screen.
At the beginning of the scene, you can kind of tell.
Yes,
but they did actually go across a bridge.
Sure, it's clear as day. Yes,
but it's
because they used a telephotic lens to make it look like that the train was right behind them when it really was on the other end of the tracks.
And that might have been green screen too, because
it was a trick.
The labor laws that they had about putting kids in danger in that situation.
Well, yeah, thanks to the Twilight Zone.
Yeah. So there was
John Landis decided to kill 3 people.
Yeah, way to go, John. That creeped me out, by the way. John Landis, that situation we talked about it before, but I didn't know that he held parties and stuff like that for the fact that he got off on those charges, and then he threw like parties for the jurors that got him off free too and stuff. Yeah, I read that and I was like, and I love John Landis, and now I'm thinking you're a complete
asshole, right? Yeah, that's a little over the top for sure. But as far as this movie, I think that the thing that really gets me and the narrator says it, he goes, the things that you talk about as a kid that seem so important at the time.
Yeah.
And it's those montages where they go back and forth, where they're talking about, what is Goofy? Or they talk about Annette's tits.
The letters are stretching.
On the Mickey Mouse Club. And they're talking around the fire about random shit.
Yeah.
And Ken and Vern, of course, can Mighty Mouse beat up Superman? And then, of course, Teddy coming off and saying, well, Superman's a real guy. Of course, Superman's not a real guy. It's stuff like that. I think that really is what adds another level of realism to the characters that makes this so timeless.
It's the innocence. It's the innocence. Yeah. All right. Ken, why don't you kick us off with your review of Stand By Me?
So this is a difficult movie for me to kind of rate. I think it's a extremely well-made movie. I mean, Ted talked about just now about how, they're like sitting around and talking about things like the Mickey Mouse Club and Annette, but the conversations they had are very real conversations not only that I have as kids, but conversations I still have as adults when I'm sitting around with others.
You talk about
Mickey Mouse and Super, or
Mighty Mouse.
Mighty Mouse, yes.
All the time. I mean, all the time, of course.
I mean, you have those conversations about what superhero could be what superhero and things of that nature.
You do?
Sometimes, yeah, if you get along with some like nerdy guys and like Ted and me, sometimes if a Marvel movie is about ready to get released, we may get into conversations about the different characters in Marvel. So yeah, I think those conversations are extremely real, and the settings of those conversations are real. And I think that's what this movie is what's so great about it is it feels real. It just feels extremely real. And Rob Reiner, I can see why he thinks this was his best movie that he ever made. For me, though, there's certain movies, though, that I struggle with being one and dones. And it means that it's movies that I don't normally go back to. This isn't a movie I go back to. For me, it's not, I wouldn't say it's not a rewatchable film because I did enjoy my time watching it again, but I didn't have a desire to rewatch it for the longest time. And I think that's what brings it down for me a little bit, is the fact that it's one of those where, yeah, it was good. It was really good, but I don't need to see it again. So that's why it's hard for me to. I came in here thinking 3.75, but I think I need to bump it up to 4 because it's so good, because the writing is so good, and because the direction of this movie is excellent. The movie doesn't really have any flaws. I would love to have laughed more, but this is not that type of movie.
Gordy tells you that. Maybe we shouldn't be having fun.
Maybe we shouldn't. But yeah, I think that's a fair compromise for me, is to keep it at a 4 hook rating. It's a movie everybody should see at least once.
Ken, I couldn't agree with your review anymore if I said it myself. It's one that everyone should see. I don't really have a desire to see it again, to be honest with you. It is a great movie, and I don't know, it holds up well, but for me, it's just like, all right, yeah, here we are. Oh, we're an hour and a half in. Okay. It's a good movie. It is. I don't think it's Rob Reiner's best movie, but it is a good movie. It's a 4 for me, just based on, like you said, it really doesn't have any flaws. It flows very well. I don't know. It's hard for me to. I couldn't give it any higher than a 4. That's just my take on it. What are your thoughts, Ted?
Be prepared to hear Ken's eyes roll out of his head. And yes, you both are putting up what you know to be true. I've owned this movie, like I said, when I was younger. I had a bootleg copy of it. I bought the VHS copy. I bought a DVD copy. I've bought a Blu-ray copy of this movie. And this is kind of Ken's take, kind of a knock on me giving everything a 5 hook. Because this is better for me than most other 5 hook movies. They're all not created equal. Because this is completely personal. I can sympathize with these characters on so many different levels. And I feel a connection to these characters that I don't feel in a lot of movies. And that's why I come back to this movie as often as I can. And I will watch this throughout the year because I do like that. And I consider myself lucky because I always cry at the end of this movie. I didn't have friends like this at 12 and 10. I was able to find my friends that are family. I was lucky enough to find them when I was an adult. So I can't really sympathize with that, losing that friend. There is one particular friend that I have lost from when I was a kid. I've lost touch with, and I've not been able to reconnect with. But I was lucky. I found my family of friends later in life, and they've always been there with me. This story here is very personal to me, and I'm not going to say that this is Rob Reiner's best movie, but I think it's beautiful. I think that this is the perfect, like I said before, I think this is the perfect marriage of two of the greatest minds of the 20th century, of Rob Reiner and Stephen King. I make no bones about it. Stephen King is my favorite author, and it's not even close. And it's because of his characters. This movie for me is definitely a 5 hook movie. I mean, this was never going to surprise anybody, I don't think, because I do believe that this is a beautiful story. I think the whole thing is pitch perfect from beginning to end. I don't see hardly any flaws with it because it's personal to me. It's hard to find art today that makes things personal like that.
Okay, well, I guess that's where we're ending on this one. Ken, what is the next movie we're going to be doing?
Well, we're going to do 30th anniversary of a movie called Mother, starring
1996.
Upper Brooks
Yep.
and Debbie Reynolds.
Hopefully you've seen this one. It is a classic. So that's,
and if you haven't,
funny.
Go ahead and see it before we do our
Please
review.
do. Please do.
It is a hidden treasure, I would say.
That's all the time we have on this episode of Hooked on Movies, a podcast. As always, thank you for listening.
See you at the movies.
See you next time on Hooked on Movies.